Hello and welcome to another video. So we're going to be looking at the NGE second place Shadow Nexus EXO mid deck. So it's a little different to the other mid deck, you know, a few different choices. You know, you've got your Cyclones here, you've got a few other little things here that are just different to the previous deck. You got the Immortal Thane, a couple of Phantom Howls instead of one, and just little things like, you know, you can't have too much variation in mid-show decks, but I thought I'd show you just, you know, the different ones that people had bought to NGE and play through them a little bit. So hopefully you guys enjoy that, and we'll get right into the games. Alright, game one here we have against Haven. We get to go second, which is awesome. You can't go wrong going second here. We start out with an average hand. I don't really like the Cyclone, and the Soul Conversion really isn't my style in the super early game unless I already have a 1-2 drop combo. So we're going to hopefully be able to curve out alright here without being contested too much. And fortunately that's pretty good. We get our 1 drop out. And they don't really play much else, you know, they have an amulet come out. Not really much of a threat. Then we just play off that, hit them in the face, not too worried. And we get the extra shadows, which is nice. We're actually at 2 already. And we get to go into the Dark Conjurer and Skull Beast, which is a nice little bit of setup. Other than that, we're not expecting too much here. They do go for the Forbidden Ritual, which is a full board banish. Fortunately, I am able to counter that by just, you know, hitting them a couple times, boosting up my Reaper, and evolving my 2/2 to get a little bit of damage, which is nice. So we actually pull off an extra 5 damage to face, and we get a few boosts, and avoid the Forbidden Ritual. Plus, we've still got the Cerberus Phantom Howl combo, which should work out quite nicely, putting them very close to being in range. Not too bad at all. Fortunately, we do see Acolyte's Light, which isn't too big an issue. And we're able to easily push out this Cerberus, evolve into a 5/5, and still hit them in the face, leaving us well and truly close to going for game. I was quite happy with how this deck performed, especially in this matchup. We got a pretty ideal hand, which, as you'll see from here, is pretty consistent at doing so. Fortunately, just the clear really isn't a threat. The Phantom Howl combo pretty much closes us out. And that can pretty much win us the game. There's nothing really that we'd have to worry about here because we win. So, not bad at all. Alright, so we'll go into the second game and we'll take a look at that one. So, game 2 here is against Dragon. We get to go first, so we're getting a nice little bit of variety of decks, which is quite nice to see. Allows me just to show off the decks in different lights and different mulligans, I guess, but these decks are pretty straightforward. You're mainly looking for those really nice curves into really high damage potential. There isn't too many tricky things to go on with the deck, other than making sure you know where to trade and where to go face, which sometimes can be, you know, the difference between winning and losing. So unfortunately here we don't get the best draw, which is kind of unfortunate. We start off kind of weak with Bone Chimera as our only decent play, so we basically had to wait out 3 turns. Fortunately they didn't have anything either, so we really didn't waste too much. Although we do miss a little bit of damage, which could have really helped us in the long run. But the Soul Conversion does actually see some value in this early game here. I thought anything would be better to pull than nothing, so we did Soul Conversion, pulling off the extra Chimera. That 2/5, which is now a 4/7, is really difficult to deal with. Fortunately, we do have the stuff to deal with it. It's just more difficult, unfortunately. I choose to go as double zombie party, just because I didn't want to have to ram the Cerberus and the Skull. I felt if I evolved it, I'd get more damage out of it, and then potentially play Cerberus later for more damage. Plus we have double Death Breath with already 6 shadows. Really not a big concern. Fortunately they do go for a second Rahab, making things more difficult. But not too much to say with that play. So the next thing is I needed to protect myself from being completely killed off. Fortunately, these zombies do that pretty well. They've got the stats to withstand an extra a salamander, sorry, which is pretty easy. Plus we have a second death breath, so salamander triggers that pretty nicely. Which they do, so they waste their whole turn on a salamander, which fortunately we don't see a dragon's breath, which is the 2 damage clear, and we just go for a boost on our own. So if we get enough stuff to survive here, Demon Lord easily closes out this game. If it doesn't, we also have the Cerberus and Phantom Hell options, which are both pretty good in my opinion.
You have angered me.
So we get to be able to push out the Demon Lord. I'm not too worried about trading off, because I know that their stats will drop back to 2, meaning I don't have to worry about killing the 10-4. Plus there isn't much they can really play that would kill me this turn, so I wasn't worried about that either. Their healing though, on the other hand, is a little bit of a problem, but fortunately they just concede because they realise they can't deal with it. And so we go into game 3, which is against Rune. As I said, we're getting a nice little bit of variety. So hopefully that shows you guys the different kind of things that you can face. And we nearly get an ideal curve. I do drop the Shadow Reaper because I'd much prefer something else, which we do get Dark Conjurer. A much better slot for a 2-drop. At least against Rune in my opinion. And we get Soul Conversion. Probably not the best card, but definitely also not the worst card to have here.
You're mean.
So we don't have too much to play now. We kind of just got to curve out, hit them in the face a little bit. Rune doesn't tend to have much, especially this being a D-shift deck. I wasn't sure in the beginning, but you eventually realise that it's definitely D-shift and that it's not too hard to deal with. As long as you get the early game pressure, which we've got with that 1-2, and now with the Chimera, which they can't easily return, so we're in a pretty good spot. Getting a couple extra damage in, being able to play probably another Bone Chimera here, and then Soul Conversioning the board. Just getting those extra couple of bodies along with a couple more things to play. So they try and Wind Blast, they're just trying to beat my board down a little bit. Unfortunately we don't really have any big hitters in our hand, which kind of limits what we can play. We can just kind of swarm the board, but that's not going to be much good to us when we start getting into turn 6, which would be a real problem. Fortunately we do draw into Hector, which can pretty much be our finisher if we're not careful. And of course Bone Chimera's Evolve, always looking sweet as, with all its gold bling. They do go for more draw power, double insight, which kind of sucks for us, plus Angelic Snipe. Really pushing those stats, making me worry a little bit that they were going to be able to pull off what they needed.
I'm just a mage who's as old as dirt.
See, that's some crazy spells right there.
It won't be long now.
It's just like back in the old
So they look for a
days.
trading, I guess.
Finally a break.
So now I don't have much in the way of actual damage.
Get into trouble.
Like, I can't push lethal this turn.
I'm all
I decided to go for the trade just because I know if I can survive, then Demon Lord's going to be a big turn. I could have played Cyclone, which may have been a little bit better as a protection, just so they couldn't easily D-shift me, but if they're going to D-shift, I'm probably dead anyway, so I wasn't too concerned with that. I was more concerned with setting up a potential lethal, which they do use a few things. They get a Flame Destroyer, which worries me a little bit. Turn 6, turn 7 is your normal D-shift.
This ends here.
And they go for a double Flame Destroyer play here, which really freaks me out a little bit. I don't really have much to contest against it. The only option I've got is they pass, and they do. They mustn't have had D-shift in hand, or they weren't able to drop it low enough, which meant my Hector was able to beat them out. We get a easy 9 damage plus Evolve for 11 for exact lethal.
I'm through.
So that's going to wrap up this video. I'd like to thank EXO for being so great and having second place for Nexus. That's pretty damn good. Couldn't ask for a much better result. And his deck was very, very solid. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to smack that like button and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.